What is up, sports fans? We are back for another episode of The Real and the Rare. I'm your host, as always, Stephen Rychel. Not being joined by the big man today. He's having mechanical issues with his vehicle. We all know how it happens in life. You can't plan for that. Stuff happens. So I got the man on the mic himself, Mr. Marvin Powell III. Marvin, how are we feeling today?
Man, just blessed, highly favored, fortunate to be here. And
I gotta ask you, how was the show with Meg?
The show with Meg was outstanding, man. Listen, Steve, through people that I'm meeting through you, I'm taking it international. You know what I mean? So I'm thankful for you and your efforts, not just for Meg, but for what you've done with our wonderful sponsor, Fight Wax. I don't want to not mention that, but no, Meg is great, man. Meg is an up and coming star. And just really had a good time with her. Very grounded, down-to-earth sports fan. And we had a good time for an hour.
Yeah, she's awesome. I already said it. It's just a matter of time. It just sucks that she's on her own brand, building her own brand. And sometimes it's better to do it that way. But you've already mentioned it. So without any further ado, every episode here on the South Florida Tribune, here on The Fan in the End, is brought to you by Fight Wax. Fight Wax is the ultimate skincare for athletes and all active lifestyle. Helps treat cuts, swelling, scrapes, and abrasions, rejuvenates and restore stress skin. Customers have used for soreness, stiffness, and recovery. Provides an ultra silky, non-greasy feel, deep hydration for everyday skincare. Helps fight dry skin. Customers have used on skin disorders such as eczema, psoriasis. And when you're heading over to Fight Wax, make sure you're using that code SFT15FW. Show us some love. Show the people over at Fight Wax love. Show Lincoln some love, man. We got, he's already hooked me up with several different interviews that we've had here on the network. He's also working on some stuff behind the scene. Hell, he told me he just got in with a liquor company with Fight Wax. He says he's something he bottle alcohol too. So big shout out to Lincoln. Big shout out to Fight Wax, guys. Make sure you guys are doing it. We are within 20 followers to hit 2K on the YouTube channel. So definitely gonna be hooking up some people who are always active on all the platforms. Got a little fun care package. I think me and you'd already talked about that. I think me and you already have an idea who it is, who's gonna be the lucky winner for this one. And we got to come up with a nice little prize pack for it. But we were talking about it last week, just how crazy this time of year is in sports. Baseball's starting to get out of its spring slumber and heading toward the the dog days of summer. So you're getting more action with that. As I was licking my wounds as I was one of the two teams that already had their managers fired. But a week later, Don Mattingly's 7-1, 7-1 already. So that's we'll see if they're able to hold that moving forward. But I think the big news is the numbers came out for the first round of both the NHL and NBA playoffs, and I don't know if you've seen some of this stuff yet, and I'm going to talk to you about it. Right?
Yeah.
So, first round of the playoffs for NBA basketball is the most watched first round in 33 years. So NBA is off to a big first start. On top of that, so is the NHL. They've delivered their most viewed first round of Stanley Cup playoffs since their new rights deal. They had 3 of the top 5 slots were NHL playoff games. So I mean, I'm gonna say right now, and even furthermore, you had that game 1 matchup that had 2.5 million viewers between the Flyers and Carolina Hurricanes. So it's translating on into the next round there. I am going to say this. I know you're going to disagree with me, and that's fine. You can disagree with me on this one. The fact that on a closeout game in the first round of the playoffs, that there was a team that had a 61-point advantage while playing in a game 7 ends all discussions for me. We discussed this a couple times. Some of the best playoffs for the particular leagues. Well, while you had a 61-point blowout in one of the game sevens of the NBA's first round of the playoffs, you had 5 different closeout games in the NHL that are all decided by a goal. So I'm gonna say it. It's you're not gonna like it. You're gonna think I'm an idiot, which I probably am. But I love my hockey, and they have a better playoffs. It's more competitive. You guys may have the more noticeable superstars and have the overall popularity, but I think when you're just watching the game, having games contested by a point or less is more exciting to watch than watching somebody fighting for their playoff life getting blown out by 61 points. The Sixers just got blown out by 30 again. They got blown out by 30, but in the Boston series too. It's just one of these things why I think the NBA has an amazing product, but I think the NHL is in the quality of the games are starting to kind of bridge that gap. And that's a scary thought considering, what was it, like 30 years ago that we were talking about basketball probably had the best playoff series. But NHL is doing their thing. They're doing more to help themselves than it is to hurt themselves. You know, I know you're going to disagree with me. I know you're the basketball guy more than you would be the hockey guy, but seeing that 61-point blowout, I mean, obviously, as the game went on, it got a little closer because none of the starters were playing, et cetera, et cetera. But having to see multiple closeout games where you have having blowouts, then you have looking at your your direct competition because you're both in the playoffs at the same period of time. Having all their game, having 5 of 6 of the closeout games that they showed that night were all decided by a goal or less.
Yeah, I agree with you that the first round of the NBA playoffs is one that I typically don't watch, to be honest with you, because I think there's such a mismatch, a competition between the top seed or the better teams and the bottom teams in the NBA. And these games just drag out, and you're absolutely right that watching a game where there's a 61-point difference it's not entertaining. But then you throw up the stat that more people have watched the first round than ever before, and by a wide margin. I would really attribute that
in 33 years for NBA. They've had their best numbers for the first round of basketball on television in 33 years. That says a lot. That says a lot to Adam Silver. That says a lot to I think the diversity you have in the league right now. I don't think there's you could sit there and say even my about to go down 0-2 Sixers have a chance of potentially winning a championship this year. I think it wouldn't be surprising if an 8 seed winds up competing for an Eastern or Western Conference final or go up there. And then I think that's we were just talking is about the competition, about parity in the sports where you're not having it's every year it's either the Lakers or it's the Warriors or it's the Celtics. Well, the Celtics are out, right? Right.
Right. Yeah. I also attribute it to, we could be seeing the impact of social media and individual star power of the NBA players really just coming into the mix. And I think that the NBA has done a phenomenal job of making it a global game. The NBA has done a phenomenal job of marketing their brand. And I think with the right partnerships and the right type of platforms to play their games on, in addition to the star power of the player that you recognize and see through social media, I think that all comes together, man. And I think that has just all attributed to more people being interested. Keep in mind, for as much as people talk about LeBron, whether you love him or you hate him, he is iconic. He's polarizing, and whether you love him or you love to hate him, I think people recognize that him being an elite player, these days are coming to an end. And Kevin Durant, an elite player, a lot of drama with him, but he's a star player with a lot of followers, and he has an international presence, and and these are just 2 guys I'm mentioning, but I think that the star power mixed into the platform mixed into the marketing of the NBA just plays into that. Now you're talking about the quality of the game, and listen, it's realistic that there are more quality NHL players than there are NBA players. That's possible. And that the quality of the game because of that is just better. In the NBA, you have a lot of guys out there, who shouldn't be, who are just shooting up threes, And while I think a lot of fans don't like that, and I think people are seeing the game evolve because of the Steve Curry impact, there's still something about the NBA and its star power that's appealing. Again, big numbers in regards to viewership. So, the NHL is not a sport. It's not a league that I've really followed too much. Growing up between LA and New York, I'm partial to the Rangers and the Kings, but that doesn't mean much. I think hockey is a sport that just has a very strong, extremely strong, but smaller following. But you're seeing that just grow. And I think it's showing up in the numbers as you're indicating. So, yeah, I think, basketball is growing. Social media, the internet have a lot to do with that. The quality of the NHL has always been there, I think. And I think people are starting to recognize that. And in hockey's small but strong following is continuing to grow. And again, it's just showing you how big sports are in our lives, how big they are in our culture. You're seeing how much viewership, is there with these teams, with these sports. Again, in no particular order, for many Americans, their top three things are religion, family, and sports, in no particular order. And that sports portion of it is growing, to be honest with you. So yeah, that nothing that you showed is surprising. I think the way that sports dominate our culture and the way it's marketed and embedded into our youth, into our everyday lives, it's going to continue to grow. Sports are not a sports. It's a business, and these people who control this business are doing everything they can to grow their business.
Yeah, it is a business, man. You want to know how crazy of a business is? I was going to drop this when we were talking about a little bit of the hockey, right? So game one at the divisional round, of so to speak, for hockey, the Carolina Hurricanes almost sold 5,000 of these beer skates.
Wow.
So I mean, listen, it is a business, but this is I think when both hockey and basketball is at its best is during the postseason. Both of them are 82 game seasons. I think both of them for the last 10 years or so they've just been having a rough spell as far as number wise goes. And as I was just sitting there saying, both the NHL, the NBA had record numbers during the first round of the playoffs. But the other thing about that is I still think it, noticeably, the two teams involved, it's Philadelphia. The Sixers, Boston Celtics is the most watched first round game 7 in NBA history ever.
Yeah, well, yeah, and let's keep in mind that obviously the scheduling has been what it is for decades, for a long time. Football is king in America.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, there's no question. That's not even a conversation, right? And strategically, these sports put the biggest parts of their season on when football is out. So you have all these huge football sports fans, who are sports crazy, who want to watch something. And who benefits from that? Basketball and hockey. So I get that. In regards to the game 7 with Philly, listen, man, your boy Embiid is one of the most polarizing players in sports, okay? And when he's playing well and he's healthy and he's on, he's exciting to watch. He is. And then you combine that in a game 7 with two teams who are, you can argue, obviously, are rivals, just being in the same conference, being so close.
The most game 7s in NBA history is between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Boston Celtics.
That says a lot, man. That says a lot. And I think, and I hate to say it, I think a healthy Embiid has a lot to do with that.
It does, and it's going to play a factor tonight, as we were talking about right before we came on air. Joel Embiid's out, back stiffness, hip sore, knee sore, whatever. And this goes back to what we're talking about. When Joel Embiid is healthy, He's the creme de la creme of talent when it comes to an NBA center. But when you're missing him games, that's when you have a problem. And
It's such a
go ahead.
it's such a difference when you have a guy on the court who's 7 feet tall, 250 plus pounds, whatever he is. I mean, to have that presence one night and not have it another, you're looking at two completely different teams. And when you look at what Philly's committed to him financially, to not have him in the game, I mean, how are you even ever going to be a favorite without him? Considering former league MVP, his numbers that he brings to the table. You have to, when you play against a guy like that, it changes the opposition's entire strategy from a defensive and offensive standpoint. Their focus is completely different. So to not, and that's why I lead to the fact that I just don't think he's in the best interest of the Philadelphia organization. The best ability is availability. And a guy who you have the greatest investment in, who is arguably your best player, he's not there half the time, you feel like, So I think that the Sixers need to really figure out a way to get him off the books, man. And I hate to say it, but I just don't see a guy like that being more healthy as time goes on. As he gets older and he's playing this contact collision sport, which the NBA is, it is not a collision, but it's definitely a physical contact sport. His body's just going to wear down, man. So I don't know if that contract is tradable. I don't know if he has a no trade clause, but Philadelphia is absolutely at a tremendous disadvantage offensively and defensively when their highest paid and best player is out, and that's happening too often for the Sixers.
Well, I mean, you can't talk it away. He's missed more games in his NBA career than he's played, so I'm not going to argue there. I don't know the exact language of his contract, but I already said it right now. I know a guy named Giannis that wants out of Milwaukee, man. Send him down there. Send Paul George down there. Send a couple picks down there. Whatever it takes to get him out of there. But I can't wait for Joel Embiid to either be there or not be there. And he is a difference maker when he's healthy. Even Boston's head coach, they were asking him, what happened. They blew a 3-1 save. Joel Embiid happened. And he does change how you have to attack the Sixers, how do you have to play that game, and he makes things difficult. So
and the reality is, you have a player in Maxey who is an outstanding player, and when you have a 7-footer in there with it, as with Embiid, then that takes a lot of pressure off of Maxey. Maxey can put up points. He's already shown that. But, without the 7-footer, now the focus is on him, and that's just, again, it's really it's horrible for the Sixers to be in this situation with a guy that is, so talented and Embiid, but you just can't count on. And then you look at the other investments you've made in players like Maxey, and you realize how his absence, Embiid's absence, impacts them. So it's just, the Sixers are just in a tough spot, man. They really are. They got to figure out how to get out of this deal with this guy, and either and do so with Maxey maybe as well. Because what are you doing with him without an Embiid? So
yeah, but I think VJ Edgecombe has proven that he's a good backcourt with him. If you move on, if you put a package together and you bring in somebody like a Giannis, right? Let's just say you do get something going with Boston, right? You got a nice little 3-piece there, and all you do have to do is then go find yourself a healthy center.
Yeah, but Embiid is not. He's more than just when he's healthy. He's more than just a healthy center. He's an elite level player.
Yeah,
you have a lot of guys out there you have a lot of 6'10" centers in the NBA who you've never heard of because they don't have the ability. He's different. He's a huge difference maker. And again, the bigger issue is the investment that they're putting toward him that's not being applied or used, and that creates a void. And at the end of the day, what you need is a star player. You need star power. And without Embiid, you don't have that at that position, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's a tough one. I love Joe. I know he's once in a lifetime type of talent at center. regardless of what you say about his game. But at some point in time, you need to separate because it's costing you too much in what you're paying him and the time you've invested in them and what you've gotten back out of them. And that's why it puts the Sixers in even a rougher position. They lose this series. Joel Embiid hasn't gone to an Eastern Conference Finals at any point in time in his career. And listen, we've seen teams get blown up and guys moved out for less, man. And, I get that he's had the worst luck when it comes to injuries. I get that, but you got to be held accountable sometimes. And, 9 times out of 10, management tends to go with the players, not the management. So, but I do believe in the Sixers case. Listen, you get lightning in a bottle. You get a tough matchup that they were Boston and you win it. I don't see you doing that to the Knicks. I think they're a much better team than the team that knocked the Sixers out of the divisional round 2 years ago. I'm pretty sure it was 2 years ago when we lost them here. So, I mean, what are you going to do if you're the Sixers moving forward? Daryl Morey and Joel Embiid cannot be on this team if they want to move forward and can grow, not waste Tyrese Maxey's career, not let him just.
And that's what's happening, Steve. That's exactly what's happening, and that's my point. I mean, it's when you look at their investment into Maxey as well. I mean that was with Embiid, a healthy Embiid in mind. You just said it, man. He hasn't been to an Eastern Conference Final. You said, he's missed more games than he's played, and he's one of the highest paid players in the league. That's a horrible combination. No team has ever been successful with anything like that, attached to their current resume. So, the management of Philly now needs to figure out how to. I hate to say it, you have to reload, dude. I think you have to start from scratch. I do. I think you have to start from scratch because everything you did was based on the big man, and it's just not happening. And Maxey can't do it by himself, even with other role players jumping in there, Steve. I mean, I know you're a Philly fan. I know what it means to you. I'm looking at it objectively. I have no love for the Sixers. I'm just, I'm a LeBron guy, but I can respect what a healthy Embiid can do. And on paper, I think the Sixers had to have a serious contender, but it's falling apart, man, and it's never even gotten right. So,
yeah, I mean, listen, love Joe, but it's just one of these things when it comes to him. It's just he's got to get over it, and getting blown up by 30 points, not playing tonight. It's just more of the same for him, and the process has failed. I've written pieces on that. You can say what you want about it. The only thing you've gotten out of the whole process and all that whole nonsense was Joel Embiid. Everyone else that you drafted were complete and utter failures. Didn't matter if it was Eldon Brand. It didn't matter if it was the Colangelo brothers. It didn't matter. So far, the only ones that you've drafted that you got Maxey. I think he was like 17. Wasn't even a top 10 pick, right?
Wow.
You get lucky last year with VJ Edgecombe, and now you have a fairly decent backcourt. As long as Edgecombe continues to, surprise people like he did this season, and he doesn't, regress or anything, then you might have a decent backcourt.
Yeah.
Paul George is 36 years old. I love Kelly Oubre, but I don't really feel like he's somebody that should be starting there. And then you got Joel Embiid.
Yeah, and let's not forget. I mean, it's simple. The standard is championship, and
it is.
That's the bottom line. And how close have you come to that? How far are you from that? These are questions you have to really be objective about and answer. And I don't think that there's anything happening with the current state of the Sixers when you look at what you said in regards to the aging of some of your players and the injury history and just the fact that you haven't gotten to the Final Four. Again, Steve, you got to blow it up, dude. You have to. You don't need to continue adding to this and trying to make it fit. This isn't working, and primarily because it was built around a guy who's missing work more than he's showing up for work.
and it's not Joel's fault. I mean, if you ask Jaylen Brown, it's because he flops too much. But I thought that whole situation was funny this week.
Yeah, I mean,
you seen that Jaylen Brown crying that Joel Embiid flops?
Well, a lot of players say that. I didn't see that in particular, but he does. I mean, he is a crybaby. I don't like his demeanor. I don't know if it's I don't know, but when he's on the court, he's a dog. He plays hard, man.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown on the court is special. He really is.
I was talking about Embiid cries too much. I feel like I don't have a problem.
I say it like this. You know what Joel Embiid reminds me of when he's on the basketball court a lot of times? He's like a baby giraffe on roller skates. Sometimes he is man down way too much, and it's I don't think it's just him flopping. I just think he's this tall, awkward basketball player.
Yeah, I gotta keep reminding myself that he was the league MVP, and that's a trophy that I definitely respect. They don't just give those away. The NBA is a grown man's league. It's an extremely physical league. It's it's definitely a contact sport. And for him to be the MVP means that he was physically dominant, in ways that you need to be when you look at the other elite players who won that trophy. So I can never knock his physicality or toughness. I think you're right. At times, as a 7-footer, he looks a little awkward sometimes. I see that. I understand the baby giraffe comparison. I do. But again, when he's on, he's a dog. I mean, the results are phenomenal with this guy. So, yeah, Steve, I hate to beat a dead horse, man, but I think at the end of the day,
man, you're not telling me something I haven't already thought, dude. I thought coming into this season they should have organized a trade at the trade deadline and find somebody for him. Now, like I said, the only one that I hear that rumblings of wants out a superstar that wants out of their city is why I keep bringing up Giannis, because he won his championship there, right? And then it's just like since then, like they've just consistently just had this bad luck, and when they got to the playoffs, just everything would fall apart. Then this past season, they didn't even make the playoffs, right? I think it would be a perfect time to try to see, put a picks package together, maybe a swap pack or something like that, and send Joel down there, even if it takes throwing Paul George in there too. I mean. Yeah, I think you got more tread on the tires of a possible trade with Giannis than you would if what's left on Joel's tires. I'd have more faith that Giannis has more quality years left in him than I do Joel Embiid, and I would be willing to gamble that.
I agree on that, but does Milwaukee really want to take on that financial burden, of a George?
But that's why you throw multiple year picks.
I hear you. I don't, listen, I think it's a league that's trying to get younger, more athletic on one hand, but it's also a league that, with all these super teams, you're trying to find the right piece or two so you can compete today. And in the NBA, if you got a couple of superstars and you got a couple of role players, you can compete. You can go out there and compete in the playoffs, man. So, if I'm Milwaukee or Philly, I don't want each other's trash, injuries. I don't want that. I would probably be more inclined to take Giannis if I were Philly, but I just don't see where, even with the picks. I mean, these NBA picks, these guys flop more. These guys fail more than the NBA guys, man, in regards to the draft picks. I mean, so many of these lottery. No, they do. I mean, it's just, unless you get a top 3 dude, I mean, it's too much of a mystery, I think. So, it's tough, man. We'll see what they do. We'll see.
I don't think that trade ever gets made. It's just the one off the top of my head that makes sense.
I hear you. I don't like it, but
that's why we just have fun and debate. But speaking of having fun and debating, let's keep with the NBA playoffs. We're down to 8, right? Who do you like in each series? I already said I feel like way to game 1 went. It's gonna take a miracle for the Sixers to dig out of that hole. I think New York again winds up beating the Sixers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Detroit going to the Eastern Conference Finals, as much as it irks me to say it. Right. Over in the West, I got the Wolves beating the Spurs again, and OKC edging out your LeBron led Lakers, and probably like
Yeah,
6 games. I think that could get pushed to 7. So we'll see what happens. But what are your thoughts? Who do you like to break it down to the final four, my friend?
yeah, put that back up for me. So I like, I definitely like OKC. I hate to say that. I think without Luca, it's just too much pressure on the Lakers. They have, OKC has just too much firepower. They have arguably the best player in the game, and it's just too much on an older LeBron. On the other side, I love the up and coming Spurs. I love Wemby. I think that Anthony Edwards is absolutely a star player. Uh, I like Minnesota in that. I do. Philly, New York. I think Philly, without their star player, without their big man, without the highest paid player on their team, I think New York is going to be too much for them. I think the Cavs in Detroit probably have a good matchup, but I have to go at Detroit just because of Cade Cunningham and how the Pistons. I think the Pistons are better at their highest point than Cleveland.
I don't disagree. I think the only thing that we disagreed on was, even Eddie said it, that he likes San Antonio over the Timberwolves.
Yeah, no, listen, Wemby's a force, man. He's and what's crazy about Wemby is he's only going to get better. He's only going to get better. I think he was a second-year player, and he's already a dominant player up for MVP, defensive MVP, and all that stuff. I mean, he's a star player. It is so hard to play against a guy who's 7'5", can shoot, can dribble, block shots. Slim frame, but he does his best to play physical. He's not a soft player by any means, and that's just hard to go up against. So what you worry about with Wemby really is the same thing with Embiid in that when you're that big, man, those joints, your ligaments. I mean, there's a lot of jumping. There's a lot of elbowing. The body can only take so much, so you just hope that this guy's body can stay intact. But he's a force to be reckoned with. I just think that Minnesota, from what I've seen so far, I think they have smart players, veteran players. I think they're hungry, and I think it wouldn't shock me to see them make a run.
Yeah, I like the Timberwolves too.
Yeah,
and it's another thing that we talk about. I like parity in sports. OKC finally won their championship last year. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing the Minnesota Timberwolves win one. Got to see Minnesota doing something fun, right?
Yeah. No, listen, again, Anthony Edwards, I mean, this guy's he's up and coming. I mean, he's a star who's already arrived, okay? But again, he's a guy who will only get better. He's a dominant player, take it to the hole, shoot, defense. I mean, he's really good. And I think with him, the guard, the center, they got pieces over there. They have veteran players who can still play, and they got some young juice. They got their young star. Minnesota's somebody to really keep your eye on making a run here. It wouldn't shock me to see them get to the finals. No offense to OKC. People have their opinions about OKC, how good they are, but people slipping on Minnesota, I think.
You gotta remember, if I remember correctly, that was our Western Conference final last year too, was it not?
Yes, I believe it was.
So I wouldn't be opposed to seeing another rematch. So that, if memory serves me, that went 7 games, if I remember correctly.
I forget. But again, my gut feeling with them is they're a team to reckon with. So for as much as everybody loves Wemby,
Eddie, you're even crazier than my crazy trade thought. I don't think that the Spurs will do anything stupid like trading for Durant or Tatum.
Durant he's a culture team killer. This whole thing with the burner account, and he's dissing his own teammates, and this is a guy who is an elite player, an elite scorer, an all-time great offensive player, but as a leader, he just seems he don't get it. He just doesn't get it. Standoff. So reportedly standoffish with with his teammates, and not well received by the younger players. He's just a guy who doesn't understand leadership, from what I understand through media reports. And this whole idea about him trash his own teammates with his burner account, I don't get that. I just don't understand.
And this is not the only time that Kevin Durant's been attached to some type of burner account either.
Yeah. I mean,
it's always with the same nonsense. Like, dude, say it with your chest if you want to say it, man. Come on.
This is just one of those things where, like, In sports, a lot of times we assume that the best player should automatically be the captain or should be considered the leader. That's not always the case at all. There's a tremendous difference between understanding leadership and being a great player. You're talking about two different types of skills and traits, and it's not the same. So with Durant, yeah, he can still put up 30 when he wants to. He can still put up that shot and that game winner. I still think he got some juice, but to rely on him to build your culture, to establish your culture, to be the leader, I just feel like it just never really worked for him in that capacity. I don't think he's never been that. And I think that's the mistake that people have when they say, yeah, we'll take Durant. Let's trade for Durant. Yeah, but what are you really getting? So
he's been unsuccessful more than he's been successful. And the only reason he was successful is because of where he went. Where they had enough culture and team built around it that they could, mute the noise, so to speak, to be able to still perform as a team.
Well, when he went to the
Suns, they Devin Booker and them boys down there, they didn't do anything, right? Okay. Now he's back. Now he's in Houston, didn't do nothing down there, right? They were part about that big three that was in Brooklyn. Well, they didn't do nothing there. This is what you see the pattern going. Like I'm with you. I think Kevin Durant is one of the generational talents of this age, of this era. He arguably top 3, top 5 superstar from this era, right? But I'm with you. Like the leadership skills is severely lacking. I don't know if it was just how he was taught as he was a player, that he just have too many yes men coaches around him that he just let him get by on his natural talent and didn't develop that other part where you have to be mentally tough. You have to lead your team by example, things of those nature. So, these things, like he's an enigma if you really ask me.
Yeah, it's and when you think about his time in Golden State had grown men in that locker room. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Andre, Dre, Steph, Clay. There was some grown men, some real characters in that locker room. And what happened ultimately is Draymond ran him out of there. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was a pussycat messing with real dogs. You know what I mean? And his weak demeanor, the diva in him, it didn't mix with them grown men. You saw what happened. You know what I mean? So, because it doesn't make sense that he'd go to that team, win a chip, and leave, right? It didn't fit. It didn't fit. He was, and I don't know Kevin, and and I'm really, a lot of this is going off, what others have said in the media. So I don't have firsthand account, but it just comes off that he's not a certain caliber of leader. He's not a certain caliber of man. What he is one of the greatest scorers we've ever seen. And he's a dude who probably still has juice in the tank. It wouldn't shock me to see him averaging, 27, 30, 27 plus, for the next 3-4 years. High basketball IQ, can do anything with the ball, fearless and aggressive with the ball, with an outside game as well. So, he's blessed and he's talented and he's skilled and he's proven, but what he's not is a leader. And he's probably the opposite of that. And that's the issue he's had. And you see him bouncing around from team to team. Just think about the situation in Brooklyn. Didn't you think when they had their super team that they were about to run the NBA and just do it? And
they couldn't even win 50 games.
Bruh. So it's just like everywhere he goes, there's drama, too many burner accounts, too much emotion, not enough leadership, and and it makes you appreciate the guys, the Jordans, even the LeBrons. You know what I'm saying? Because LeBron, everywhere he's gone, he's won.
And that goes right to Eddie's next one. LeBron didn't learn how to be a leader till Dwayne Wade.
I don't know.
He had qualities.
I don't agree with that, Eddie.
He had qualities going into that, but I think Dwayne Wade showed him another way to do it.
He definitely looked at D Wade as big brother, no doubt about it. But I think LeBron was a dog athlete, dog mentality. I think he understood. I think he's a savant. He's a generational guy. I think he's much more. I think he was much more mature than people realize when he was younger. And even though leadership is something that you learn definitely over time and through your experiences and through the good and the bad of life, I think he's somebody who, I think he was a leader, and I think that D Wade, and Chris Bosh with his humility, because he had, through his humility and grace, he was showing leadership as well. Chris Bosh was, because he took a backseat role and he was a proven, he was an all-star caliber player. So so now I'm kind of walking back what I said about Eddie. I understand Eddie's point in what you're saying, but I think LeBron was way ahead of where Durant is. That's what I'll say, when he was much younger. So there you go. And he benefited.
All right. Listen, Eddie, I am not the way, LeBron's biggest fan. But
D Wade was D Wade was not.
All right, Batman. Now if Dwayne Wade is Batman, then it's not a Batman movie. It's a Justice League movie, and LeBron is Superman in that argument. Listen, no one is sitting there saying that wasn't Dwayne Wade's team on Miami. That was Dwayne Wade's team. But if you're claiming Wade is Batman, then LeBron is Superman.
Exactly.
So, and we're not talking about a Batman movie. We're talking about a Justice League movie.
And D Wade even came out and said that after that first year, when they didn't win the chip, that they had a meeting in the Bahamas, and they were like, we got to talk about who's going to be the go guy, who's going to be the lead in this situation. And they agreed that LeBron should be the lead, should be the A dude on, getting the ball and leading that team. D Wade had said this, and LeBron has said it, because they were both dogs, and D Wade was a guy, who had just led his team to the championship, but he saw LeBron as fresh legs and high ability, obviously. So yeah, D Wade and Chris Bosh took a back seat to allow LeBron to lead that Heat team, even though D Wade was absolutely the leader of that team, along with Bron. But D Wade was the big brother, and LeBron has stated that as well.
And actually, and you can argue it if you want, but actually, if you think about it, you know what? Dwayne Wade was Batman. Batman is the smartest detective on the world. Well, Dwayne Wade, was a special guy on the floor as well. But just saying that, if he's that, then that makes LeBron Superman. So.
Yeah, no,
but he was the top guy. He was the top guy, Eddie. Stop. Take the blinders off for a second. I do this all the time because I don't really care for LeBron, but you cannot talk away when he was in his prime down there in Miami. Those were his teams when they won.
Listen, this is the issue for people who hate LeBron. Do you not realize that even though you've heard comparisons with different players compared to Jordan, the LeBron-Jordan conversation, LeBron versus Jordan, is the biggest one that you see. And the fact that he's earned, and I don't think he's better than Jordan, but the fact that he has earned the right to have that conversation led by thousands of people every day, and that's the primary comparison to Jordan. Eddie, you got to give LeBron his due, man. LeBron was the catalyst. D Wade may have been the leader, he may have been the heart, but LeBron was the engine behind those 4 championship runs and those 2 titles, period. It was LeBron who took them to the next level. So let's stop doing this.
He's in the 10 NBA championships. He's earned his right to be in that conversation, but absolutely. I just don't get why we consistently just have to find the ways. But see, you can't put Kobe on the level because he doesn't have the body of work either. He has the championship runs and where he won championships without a number 2. I get all that, but it is Jordan, LeBron, Kobe. I mean, you could even make arguments there's other Lakers that you would probably put in front of LeBron, but how many of them played 20 years?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's where he has willed himself into some of these arguments where everyone will just used to tear it away. Oh, he's lost 6 championship games. I don't want to hear about that.
The thing, listen, Steve, it's like this, man. You have people who have an old school approach to, you should win with the team who drafted you and do it, be like Jordan and be like Kobe. And then you have people, and then we have, the new day in basketball where, the players go from team to team trying to find a championship. LeBron has been successful with both models. He won he took the team that drafted him, who was the worst team in the history of the NBA, He took them to a championship, and every place he's been to, he brought them a championship. So whether you have an old school mentality toward these players or a new school mentality, LeBron's been a champion with both mindsets. He's a rare dude. I mean, I can understand if you don't like the comparison between him and Jordan, but you can, even if you're a LeBron hater, you cannot deny his greatness and how different he is. So it's just it's weird. I understand people.
The only thing that really gets me about him is just how he goes about playing the game. I have already said I think that he's top 5, top 3 all time. The depends on where you want to have discussions of disagreements, but he's the greatest talent of this generation. Period. It's not even a question. He may not have as many championships as this guy or as that guy. And if we're doing that, then the only person we should talk to is Bill Russell and leave the conversation at that.
Steve, what people really forget is that when this kid was 16, 17 years old, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated back before the digital world when print really mattered. He was on the cover of the biggest sports product, tangible product out there, and being on the cover of the magazine. The expectations were through the roof. He exceeded the expectations. Okay? He was projected to be the greatest of all time. And he's successful in that he's genuinely created a legit argument of who's better, him or MJ. People may scoff, but they don't really laugh at that because the resume, allows the argument to exist. He's exceeded the crazy expectations they had for him. Just think about how crazy that is. I mean, Steve, it's the LeBron haters kill me. They do. They kill me. Because how do you call yourself a basketball purist, but you hate what this kid has brought to the game, what he's done for the game, how he's exceeded the expectations. I mean, it is a Disney movie story. It is a story of the American dream at the highest level that people are missing with LeBron James.
Again, I think it's some of the nonverbal stuff that he does, how he goes about the game. I think he really even hurt himself even more with what he did at the Olympics. What was it? 24? After they won the gold medal, they were going out to this restaurant and there's like the normal scrum of people around, and I guess some kid got around the barrier, asked him for an autograph, and he's hand in the face, nope. Like, I get it if you don't sign autographs. And I really do get that because I know that there's a personal place, time, and all that. But dude, you're in Paris after you just won the gold medal. Some of these kids, this will probably be their only opportunity to see you. I can get it if we're talking about the fans that you normally see on a normal day basis.
No, Steve, I'm not having it. See, this is the problem I have with that argument, okay? What you don't see are the thousands of times that he's gone out of his way in situations where he may be with his family. Maybe it wasn't even safe for him. He's being, you don't see that and hear that. He's allowed to say no. He's allowed to be a human being. Even when you say you get it.
But Steve, it's also how you go about saying it too. And you know how that goes too.
Steve, listen, man, I think that that was, I didn't see that, but I'm sure it was a viral moment, a moment that everybody wanted to jump on. But, when you say you get it, I will say this, even me, I don't get it because I don't have thousands of people on a daily basis who would bum rush me, who do bum rush me. I mean, this is a guy who he's so great. He can't even do normal public things. You know what I'm saying?
No, he can't.
I mean, I'm not, it's a bad look. But I put that, in proper context. I don't think that makes him a bad guy.
I'm not going to vilify him over that one thing because, like you said, there are probably hundreds, maybe even thousands of times where he does do it and that he doesn't get the love for it.
Yeah,
or that he does, maybe there was an event he was supposed to be and he was only supposed to be there for X amount of time because they sold so many tickets that he had to stay an hour and a half past the time and sign even more stuff and take even more pictures.
Yeah,
so it all goes hand in hand with that, but sometimes it's just like when you're in the international stage, I just think that's probably what hurt more. Like I said, my thing, the regular fans, you're going to get more opportunities because we're in the United States. There, you can go catch them after a game, before a game, before whatever event. Like they do signings here more often. It was more that it was the Olympics, and it wasn't they were probably a bunch of Italian kids, or French kids rather, because it was Paris, my bad. But
yeah,
good.
No, I was gonna say, I just I hate those situations where players, and again, you're not necessarily
he's in an impossible situation.
There you go.
Because no matter what if he handles it this way, he's like you said, we don't know if his family's in there or if his security team like this. We're not secure here, so just get in and get out.
Right, and so right.
So listen, we don't know the other context of what's going on around it. All we've seen is the little French kids that are sitting there like, oh, can I get an autograph? And he's doing his best Saquon stiff arm to get in there.
Let me say this: for every kid or every person who's ever denied an autograph, there are 100 more situations where he was in a tough spot and still gave the autograph. You know what I mean? So with LeBron, we just when people are that big, they become like a fish in a fishbowl to us, and we focus on what we want to focus on with them, and we say this, but we overlook the fact that he pays for hundreds of kids a year to go to school. He pays for a bunch of kids every year to go to college. He's feeding kids, giving kids back. We don't talk about that. And it's just, to me, that's why when I see these kind of things and I hear these kind of things, I don't doubt that they actually happen, but you got to put it in context of the fact that he's also just a normal human being with a wife, a couple kids, wants his own sanity. It is what it is. But heavy is the crown, right?
Heavy is the crown, and
heavy is the crown, bro.
He is definitely our king of this era, and people should give him a little bit more of a leash. And listen, and here's the other thing you have to think about: he's been in the impossible shadow of being the next Michael,
and handled it well.
Not just well, like we could talk about personality defects. He should have did this way. He should have did that. He's got no scandals. He's got no other baby mamas hopping out the. He's a legit. He's a family man. He's a dad.
I'm gonna play the game fair. You're right. He hasn't had the scandals and all the other stuff. But with that said, I'm sure he has a great PR team. Sure, he has a great
without a doubt.
You know what I'm saying? Because he's allowed to be human, y'all. He don't got to be perfect to be respected. Okay, he or she shouldn't. We have
Michael wasn't perfect. Michael had a lot of character flaws.
Yeah,
so I'm sure there's media member too in Chicago to this day that probably want to smack Michael across the face with some of the things that he's said and done. But it doesn't. And same goes for LeBron. He's probably got 10 hordes of reporters that don't really care from him. And I don't really care because he's still a good person at the end of the day. He may not be the best basketball player of all time, but so freaking what? It is so subjective anymore. I say it all the time, like especially when I'm doing my combat sports interviews. Think about it this way, right? We talk about the GOATs and we all have our arguments and disagreements. Try to doing it for combat sports. When you got different eras, first and foremost, you have so many different weight classes: heavyweight, light heavyweight, cruiserweight, welterweight, lightweight. And then you even have the women's side of things. So try to sit there and just try to come up with a GOAT of combat sports, even just MMA. Let's take boxing out of it for a second. Even just MMA, it's almost impossible, right? So it's like for him to put himself on this level, to put himself next to a likes of a Michael Jordan, where he hasn't faltered, where he hasn't had these outbursts or anything like that, should be celebrated. Anytime you see a young black man given this type of level of stuff, everyone's expecting for the other shoe to drop, and he's never dropped it.
Yeah, you know what it is. You have a lot of people, to your point, you have a lot of people who are really uncomfortable with his success, uncomfortable with the fact that he hasn't messed up, in the way that you've seen others mess up.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable with the fact that he is supporting, his wife and his kids. and he has, he has a normal American family.
You don't have the normal stereotypes to throw at him.
Yeah, they don't. There are a lot of people who just don't like the fact that he is as good as he is, does have the platform that he does, and it doesn't come from money. This wasn't daddy. It wasn't daddy's money put him in this position, whatever it may be. He's done it, man, and I'm sure in this process, his family will all attest that he's made a ton of mistakes. What father and husband haven't?
Right.
What father and husband haven't made a ton of mistakes? You know what I'm saying? So, with that, man, I applaud him for keeping his family together, because whether you're famous or not, that's a tough situation. You see 80% of these people end up in divorce or whatever it may be, or,
Yeah.
So, man, I do nothing but applaud this man, and I learn from him, and I'm thankful for him. And as a sports fan, as a sports nut, I'm thankful to watch the last few days of the LeBron James era. So,
Hey, listen, again, I'm not acting like I'm his biggest cheerleader, but I will always respect talent, and people have earned their spots and earned their accolades. And you can argue whatever you want about the team hopping thing and all that other stuff. In reality, he brought his legacy along with it. He brought every ounce that you want to throw at him that he's done this wrong. He's brought in 100 things right. So again, I don't act like LeBron's my favorite, but he's not. He shouldn't be as highly scrutinized. The level of scrutiny that he gets, I think, is just a tad bit unfair.
Yeah. I think it's more than that, but we both can agree to his greatness, no doubt about it.
But see, you can't do it that way, Eddie. You can't have two separate Mount Rushmores. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
and that's why I said, as I was sitting there saying about LeBron, like it's impossible to do it for some of these sports. It really is, because no matter who you get four, and no matter what sport you're talking about, there's more than four players of all time in each of those sports without disrespecting somebody.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It's impossible. I say it all the time, but
yeah,
I still think Mount Rushmore is better than sitting there saying there's just one.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. It's just, if I would have told you that a kid was drafted number one in the NBA when he was 17 years old, takes that team to the championship, and in his career goes to 10 championships, you would say that guy was amazing and a great player. You know what I'm saying? Like, forget the MVPs and the other championships and the fact that he's literally at the top of every single list in scoring and assist and this and that. I mean, he's going to have all the records. What are we talking about, people? He's going to have all the records when he decides to hang it up. So, it's just the fact
he'll
that
have all the good records, and because of how long he played, probably some of the bad ones too. Missed shots, times he got balls stolen,
turnovers, all that. I've already seen it on the internet,
But he's already earned them from the fact of the longevity of it. It doesn't matter. All right, he's got the most missed shots. He's also got the most points scored. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't. It's just another way to try to deter from the fact. But but speaking of disappointing starts, right? Could you imagine being a Boston fan right now, dude? Really? Because over the beginning of this year, it's been rough. You get blown out of the Super Bowl. Just had the Celtics blow a 3-1 lead. Red Sox are terrible. They're not a playoff team. And the night before the Sixers had knocked out the Celtics from the playoffs, that the Bruins got knocked out right in TD Garden as well. On top of the fact that your coach is still dealing with this whole scandal thing that is going on too, and that's dragging on too. So if you're a Boston fan right now, it's pretty tough. I mean, granted, probably one of the more storied city sports teams championship wise and all that, but got to feel for the Boston fans right now, right?
What are you talking about? These people, and again, I speak as a New York sports fan. I grew up between LA and New York. My dad played for the Jets. I'm a Jet fan, Yankee fan, Dodger fan. But these people in Boston have won 6 Super Bowls in the last 25 years. I don't feel sorry for those people. In the last 25 years, they had 6 Super Bowls. They have an NBA championship. The Sox have won in that time as well. What are you talking about? Who feels sorry for them? Who feels sorry? Are you feel sorry for who? I mean, I'm a Jet fan. We ain't won a Super Bowl since the 60s, man. They've won 6 in the last 25 years. So, no, I don't feel bad for them at all. Next subject. No, I'm kidding. But no, but seriously, no. I don't. See, let me blow my nose, man. Excuse me.
Let's just sit there and say Marvin's not hearing any of the "I'm feeling bad for Boston" talk.
Give me a break. Are you kidding me?
Him. Yeah. Listen, being that he's from New York, it's literally the response I thought we would get. I'm just sitting there saying of all the things that happen, right? Literally, all 4 of your teams are literally eating dust at that point in time. Right?
You're talking about the Patriots blowing the Super Bowl lead. I wish the Jets were in the Super Bowl. I mean, what are we talking about? These are good problems. Boston, if I'm a Boston fan in the last 25 years, we have good problems. We do. We've won a bunch of Super Bowls, a bunch of championships, and we lost a couple too. Be a Jet fan. Feel that life. Get a feel for that life before you talk about sympathy and feeling bad. Give me a break. I'm serious. This is wild. This is crazy. I mean, feel bad.
I mean, everyone's gonna be feeling bad for us really soon because
Steve,
the Flyers are already down 0-2. The Sixers are about to go down 0-2. We were flying high about a week ago. It's gonna be real rough here in a minute.
Steve, the Philadelphia Eagles, the football team which drives that city, is a team who is in contention and will be considered to be a heavy favorite next year. Nobody feels sorry for you, okay? Nobody feels sorry for you. Nobody feels sorry for you, and they shouldn't feel sorry for you. Your team is intact.
I don't know, and I put it in here or didn't, Lou, when I put it in here. I want to put it in here, right? So as the rich get richer, I've already been sitting there saying Daniel Briere has to be getting all his information from Howie Roseman, right? Because the fact that the Toronto Maple Leafs won the draft lottery last night, right? Which means we have the rights to their next year's first round draft pick because of a guy that we traded to Toronto about 2-3 years ago. That's some chess moves on top of some chess moves because if you I don't know if you remember, but over the last 3 seasons, the Flyers have been in the ones trying to figure out where they were going to land in the draft lottery, right? So you're less than 2 years removed of you being in the lottery yourself. Someone else winds up winning the draft lottery, which means you get their top 10 protected pick for the following season. That is a Howie Roseman move.
No, that's a boss move, man. I wish the Jets would do something like that. But Steve, I'll be honest, man. I'm not up on the Philadelphia Flyer.
Oh no, I don't. But I'm just saying.
But I respect the move, though. I respect the move. It's a chess move.
Wise, I think we're doing all right right now. We're doing all right.
Yeah. No doubt.
But now we're talking.
I hope y'all turn that into something.
Huh?
I hope y'all turn that into something.
I think they will. Like, look, I know you're not the biggest hockey guy, and hockey was one of my big sports when I was younger. I loved the I watched our coach Rick Tocchet. I watched him play. Rod Brindamore, the Carolina Hurricanes coach. I remember a time where he was here and he was an amazing player. I think this series has a lot of things that can get a lot of Flyers fans involved. But I think they got the goalie. I think they got the young talent. I know, Tocchet doesn't want to hear it. They're playing with house money this year. This is about getting your young kids that experience in the playoffs. Whether the Carolina Hurricanes put you out in 4, 5, 6, you even make it to the next round. It's an experience for these kids to be able to push further the following season. So, I mean, it's all on them what they can manifest in future years, but it's probably been the brightest time for hockey in Philadelphia in probably over 12, 13 years. So I think a lot of the fans are excited, and that excitement that we have for them is the same disdain that we have for the Sixers, because we've been stuck in this perpetual rebuild with no potentials of getting to a championship, and is why a lot of people are frustrated with it, and echo your sentiments on we need to move on from Joel Embiid. We need to figure out a way to move on from that. So it's one of those things where it's gonna be interesting to see what the next few years hold for it. But I don't know if you've seen this today, but we did have a passing of a sports guy. And a little bit more than sports, Ted Turner, unfortunately passed away. He's the main reason why I think wrestling became as big as it did in the '90s with his with the deal he did with WCW. Started the quote unquote wrestling war, paid to bring in the Hulk Hogan's and all these guys that were defuncted from the WWF, and started a real ratings war that I think spun amazing thing. And that's just what he did with wrestling. Ted Turner's and obviously involved with the with baseball for down there for the longest time as well. So I'm sure TBS is hurting today, losing a guy like Ted Turner. When you hear about Ted, what's some of the first things that you think about?
Well, again, talking about iconic businessman, titan of industry is who he really is. I mean, you have to look at him in that and use those kind of words to describe him. But you have to think about the people who he impacted, and all the present day executives and owners, people in various businesses who were just inspired by the moves he made and the success he had. The people who worked under him, who were genuinely impacted, whether they dealt with him personally or not. This guy was a game changer. He came into the world, made a difference, and in the Atlanta area, in wrestling, and through multiple professional sports and just various aspects of business. This guy had significant impact. Was a competitor at a very high level. And this is a true game changer in industry. He's a true game changer, in regards to culture. So, yeah, we lost a lot in the sports world, in media, in the business world. Somebody lost a husband, a brother, a father, a son, and that's even bigger than that. So, absolutely just thankful for his contribution. And, here being in the Atlanta area, trust me, he has streets named after him. So his legacy will be well preserved moving forward.
Yeah, I mean it sucks because like I said, that there's, depending on where you're from, there's different ways you knew Ted Turner, or Ted Turner touched your life in one way or another. So it's definitely rough to see. Seeing a guy like him, leave, because he made such an impact on a lot of people's lives. So thoughts are with the the Turner family at this point in time, because he is going to be missed, both through family and through business and life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Now, speaking of your Jets, did you hear that they brought in Russell Wilson for a workout? What do you have for that, and do you think that he could potentially help you guys be a successful, a successful season this season, a winning season this season, if he is brought in?
The reason why I actually don't hate it as a backup is because there are people who believe the Jets have a decent roster this year, especially when you add in some of the rookies who they drafted, who we believe are going to have impact this year, led off by David Bailey, defensive end out of Texas Tech. My expectations for the Jets this year are to be more competitive. If they can muster 8-9 wins, I think that's a huge step for Aaron Glenn, to be honest with you. But the reality is, we need a quarterback. We need a future quarterback. The 2027 draft is looking like it's going to have quite a few good prospects, and we want the Jets to be in the mix there. They already have a few first-round picks, I believe. So, Russell can help us stay competitive. in the event that Geno's out. I don't think he's trash. I don't think Russell is washed. I don't think any of that. Because that's not what I saw when I saw him play in the last couple of years, outside of his year in Denver. So, it's okay. It's not a great move, but for the short term, just trying to protect the season to make sure we can compete, I get it. Now, you may be thinking, why wouldn't you want you guys to tank and have a higher draft pick? I'm not a tank guy. Let's go out there and win every Sunday, and however the draft picks end up or how they end up. I don't want to. I've seen enough Jet losing in my life. I don't need us to lose, intentionally. It's too much. So yeah, considering where we're at and the fact that there are people who do think that we're going to be decent. Yeah, it's a safe pick, smart pick. It'll be a cheap pickup.
Here's my thoughts on it. I just think that they just wanted to gauge the interest. I agree also that would probably be more for a backup role. I think it'd be funny him going from the Giants to basically the locker room on the other side of the field. being the Jets, but
yeah.
I did hear rumors that he has done more sports broadcasting interviews over the last few months than he's did for quarterback jobs. If he's entertaining those interviews, I already think he's got one foot out of the door, and I don't think that he's going to sign with any team this offseason.
I think that a lot of players get offered these type of positions as they get toward the end of their retirement. We just don't hear about it. So, and I don't know that he was the one that actually publicized that. So I won't say that. I won't say that. I mean, he has one foot out. If he said it, then I'd say he has one foot out. If it actually came from him versus the New York Post reporting or whatever it may be. I think Russ is still chasing it, and I think he's still chasing it. People forget, man, because we got to put some respect in his name. This dude took 2 teams to the Super Bowl. People forget that he led 2 different teams to the Super Bowl. You have quarterbacks out there right now who haven't been to a championship game. You have quarterbacks right now who haven't won, multiple road games in the playoffs in a season. So, and again, outside of that year in Denver, he didn't look bad, at those other stops. It's just, these other teams had other plans for players. So again, as a backup with a team who's supposed to be decent, considering what we just did in the draft, it's a smart pickup. What I hope is that we get Seattle Russell in regards to his attitude and approach, and not the new Sierra hip hop Met Gala Russell. I don't want that. I don't want that Russell with the these dudes out here in the long dress and the net and the chain and the hair, and that's supposed to be fashionable and cool now, and that's like the new. I don't want that. Give me the old humble Russell.
We'll see. We'll see what happens with Russell Wilson. I would assume that he would be in NBC, CBS, Fox Sports, one of their studios next season. That's just my guess, but we'll see what the future holds for him there. Who do you think is the best pass rusher in getting after the quarterback right now? Is it just basically 3 guys at this point in time?
Myles Garrett. That's what. Listen, I like Will Anderson a lot. I think that our man T.J. Watt. He's been consistent, but considering the year he's coming off of, you have to say it's Myles Garrett, no doubt about it.
So over the last 5 years, who do you think has the most pressures on the quarterback? Is it, is it going to be, Max Crosby? Is it going to be, Micah Parsons? Is it going to be T.J. Watt? Like, who's your top 3? If you had to say 1, 2, 3, who's finishing 1, 2, 3 in pressures, not sacks, just pressures?
In pressures, last 5 years, you said it, I think. I mean, you're probably looking at Micah Parsons 1, maybe T.J. Watt 2nd. I can't even think of pass rushers right now. Then maybe Garrett 3rd. Who is it?
I got it for you. Hold on.
I know you do.
Here we go. So number 1 is Max Crosby.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Right, and he's got Myles Garrett by almost 30 pressures. This is actually longer than 5 years. It's over the last 6 years.
But listen, Steve, this is what happens when you play for an irrelevant organization. Because that's it. You get lost in the seriously. This is what happens when you play for an irrelevant organization and you're not on the national stage in the playoffs and you don't get the 2-week coverage for the Super Bowl. I mean, this is why players don't want to go to these teams, because you get forgotten. You could be a baller, but if your team ain't out there for people to see, people forget about you.
Now, here's the crazy one is that Micah Parsons in there, and this is the list from 2019, and his response to this is even funnier because he got drafted in 2021.
He a dog. Yeah, he a dog. You know, that's even and that makes it even
also,
more.
Let's not forget he's had 2 different years where he was injured and missed games. So
yeah. So I think I listed him at what, 1, right? So if you do the math and you take off a couple years for Crosby and Garrett, he might be number 1 if you factor in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like what I said. Yeah, I had him first. Yeah,
it's one of those things. I just think a lot of we always talk about Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt, and obviously, as you were sitting there saying, Max Crosby gets lost in the shuffle. I think that's probably why he wanted to go to Baltimore so bad. Is probably getting some more eyeballs on him, more chances to potentially have postseason success, etc. It really does. Like we're talking about it, like it, how we were talking about in basketball. Like a lot of times you get drafted by somebody and you get drafted by a terrible organization. Being the best player in that team's history, it isn't as great as having that overall team success. And a lot of people, that's why football players like tend to try to position where they end up. You see situations like what happened with Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers all them years ago. You just want to be in the organization you feel that's going to put you in the best position to win. And, you don't always get a say in that, but, as much as, and at the same time, we're being us Philadelphia fans are being hard on AJ Brown wanting to go to New England. If that's really where he wants to go, then you've literally done everything you can to make him want to be here. You've been to multiple Super Bowls. He's had 2 different 1,400-yard seasons. Personal success doesn't always mean everything, and sometimes it really is where you want to be.
It doesn't matter if you're going to sell insurance, if you're going to be a football player, if you're going to be a doctor, if you're going to be whatever. Every kid coming out of college wants to go to a stable organization to work in. Period. People pick on these athletes like they're egotistical and crazy because the money's involved. There's a lot of money involved when you're going to be a doctor or a surgeon. You still want to work for a stable organization with great leadership. And the fact that, we separate and create double standards for the athletes is crazy. And the reason we do it is because they publicize their salaries and people hear that kind of stuff and they think, well, you're going to make so much money anyway. Why does it matter? What are you talking about? Work environment and culture matters to everybody, so I get that. And the fact that you're working for an organization and you don't feel like it's a healthy relationship and you want to leave, that's half the people working in America right now. You know what I mean? So why we, demonize these athletes for that is just wild to me. I have my own ideas, but it is what it is. It's unfortunate. I don't think they're crazy for electing to not want to go to this team or for wanting to get out of a bad organization, man. There's nothing worse than a toxic work environment. Nothing worse than that. So.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And, I don't think, and I don't even think AJ's made his work environment toxic. I just think that people really haven't cared how he said things, where he said things, where he should have stood up for something, where he didn't. I think has kind of been his biggest enemy. I don't think no one's just sitting there saying that AJ Brown's a cancer in the locker room, where he's standoffish with his teammates. It was not that. He was still the captain all of last year. They didn't rip the C off him, right? So I just think it's a matter of he's frustrated on how he's being used. He thinks he could be utilized better, and he's always been a New England fan. So it's like, you're at that point in life. If I could end my career with the team that I've always loved since I was a teenager, then or since I was a child, then who am I or anyone else to sit there and judge him over it? Like, I don't like it because obviously it's going to hurt my football team, right? But as a human being, if if that's just where you feel you're meant to be, go. I mean, it's going to suck. You ain't going to be able to. Steve, but I already think we put ourselves in a position to replace him through multiple different players. I think we're all right.
It's no different from being in a relationship with someone who doesn't want to be there. Let him go. You don't want someone who doesn't want to be there. Period. Yeah. That's the bottom line. And it doesn't mean that they're bad or wrong, that you're bad and wrong. I mean, at some point, sometimes, it's just, things fade and people grow apart. And, it's not always going to be that, situation where, Steph Curry gets drafted and he's here forever. You know what I'm saying? Dan Marino gets drafted, he's here forever. Those fantasies don't always exist.
Yeah. I mean, dude, Alexander Ovechkin. Is that not a man waiting for his franchise to become good?
Yeah, great example.
There's multiple times over his career he could have left Washington and went to other teams and chased cups, and he didn't.
Yeah, no, he did. I mean, again, I know that he's one of the elite players in the history of the league, of the NHL, and I do believe, he's been with the same team, Washington Capitals, right?
Yeah, his entire career.
Says a lot. It says a lot. I don't think that makes him better than the guy who's,
no, it definitely doesn't. It just,
but it is something to appreciate for sure.
Yeah, especially if you're a Washington fan. Like, he stuck with us through some lean years, man. He could have went here. He could have went there. I mean, not at, like, even like, all right, another hockey great, Wayne Gretzky, played for at least 4 different teams throughout his career. So it's like, not even the greatest of all times, wound up staying there. So it's, not gonna, I'm not gonna beat on this drum too much, but I did want to kind of touch on that one a little bit. Now you were talking about, not feeling bad for Boston and things of that nature. Now let me put the, we're in an alternate reality and we got a magic wand here, and we can take away a painful moment in sport. If you could change one sporting event,
easy. That's easy.
Oh, it's easy.
Yeah, it's very easy.
Which one is it?
I'll tell you right now. I attended the Rose Bowl game that featured USC and the University of Texas. This was USC going for its 3rd straight national title. Yeah, and on the last play of the game, with Vince Young broke contain and ran it in to the end zone. And all I seen was confetti for Texas in the stadium. And it's still a blur and a horrible, traumatic situation. But I would have had, I think it was Udeze, Kenichi Udeze, who lost contain. I would have had him sack Vince Young, not let him break contain, and USC and Pete Carroll and Reggie and the boys win their 3rd straight national title. That's the game, the play I would have changed in the history of sports.
I'm surprised you didn't go with a Jet memory.
No, because with no. Listen, Keyshawn took us as far as he could. We went to the AFC title game. We lost to the Broncos, who ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. But from what I recall, it wasn't just, even though it was a tight game. I don't think it was just one play. In that game, it came down to the last play of the game that we could have made, should have made, and there were other plays in that game that also made a tremendous difference in the outcome. But yeah, Vince Young breaking contain at the end, that broke my heart, man. I mean, that broke my heart.
I could say it's one of 2 things. I could either say make Donovan McNabb not go out the night before the Super Bowl and be drunk and actually, win the first Andy Reid Super Bowl appearance, or go back 2 years prior and just not have Donovan throw that pick 6 to Rondé Barber, which they were about to go in and score the game-winning touchdown as time was about to expire. But I mean, I think either one, 02, they could have probably won that Super Bowl, and 04, if Donovan McNabb doesn't go out partying the night before, think they actually scored on that final drive.
Is that a fact? Did he say that?
Oh, it's been proven that he went out partying the night before, and that's why he was throwing up. Because he was dehydrated.
I knew he was throwing up. I didn't know that he went out night for the game.
Yeah, he went out the night before and was partying down there in Miami.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
I got to look that up now. When we get later on tonight, I'm researching that. Again, I knew he was sick and throwing up. I never heard it was because of that. It blows my mind.
From what I've heard from teammates that have done interviews is that Donnie went out that night. He was nervous, had a few more drinks than he was supposed to. He was late getting up, late getting started, and late to the stadium the whole nine. So it was like,
well, I hate to hear that because I was going to say,
no, it's one of those things where damn Terrell Owens like bent fucking will and life itself to make it to that game after breaking his leg. And to have Donnie just not show up it's rough. It's rough.
Really McNabb is one of those, when you think about the Hall of Fame, he's almost, and had he won that game or won a few more games, he could have made it to the Hall of Fame. If he beats the Patriots, he's in the Hall of Fame, I think, to be honest with you. I do. I think he was, I think his numbers, they say, are just like Troy Aikman's, but that's not as relevant.
No, it's better than Troy Aikman's, but it's one of those things where, because you can't count Troy in there because Donnie was a dual threat. So, you can't sit there and put Troy, because Troy Aikman didn't run the ball, right?
Yeah.
If he would have had 2 years, like 2 more, like 3 full seasons with T.O., he might have been something special. But he also had seasons that he had a young Deshaun Jackson. He had Jeremy Maclin. He had LaShawn McCoy early in his career, and lost. What was it, the 09 championship game to the Arizona Cardinals that Larry Fitzgerald was on, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
It's one of those things where a lot of the things he did to himself with his own shortcomings. It's why, I wouldn't be upset if he didn't. But you're right. He's a tweener guy. He should be in, but he probably won't get in.
Yeah. But, when you look at his impact and his star power, for those who are around and aware, of McNabb in his career, I think him and I were in the same draft class. I was a free agent. Obviously, he was, I think, the number 5 pick, I think. But, this guy had a phenomenal career. I mean, he was outstanding, and he was considered to be one of the big gun quarterbacks in the NFL. So, yeah, he wins that Super Bowl. I think he's definitely in the Hall of Fame. I do. And he was also equally deadly at Syracuse out there with Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, not just that. He was also, took Syracuse to the Final Four in basketball.
I don't know if he took him there, but he was on the team.
Yeah. You know what I meant. He was on the team.
No, but that's 2 different things.
Donovan McNabb willed the Orangeman on his back.
Yeah, you talking like he's Baby Jordan, Harold Miner? No,
definitely not. No. I don't even think he was a starter. I think he was a bench player.
So that's why I had to step in here, Steve.
We have to listen. When I'm on the team, he was a part of the team that went went there.
He wasn't Zion Williams at Duke.
Right. Not like he was dropping triple doubles on them.
Right. But no, the fact that he did 2 sports.
Yeah,
I mean, that could do everything. So
that's why the Eagles drafted him. That's why, and he was 2. He was right behind was it Eric Couch, that terrible pick from the Browns.
Right.
So he was 2 that year. I mean, he had a lot of years where he had Freddie Mitchell and Todd Pinkston, and then it was James Thrash and Todd Pinkston. Like, he didn't have, T.O. was the 1 year that he had an elite receiver. And the few years after that, he was lucky enough to have both Jeremy Maclin and Deshaun Jackson in their prime at that point in time. So,
Steve, I don't think it's really Jeremy Maclin was a good player. I had nothing but respect for him. I loved watching him play. I thought he was a gritty player, a very gritty player for his size. I don't think it's fair to put. I don't think we could put him in the same conversation as Deshaun Jackson and LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah, listen. It's not like I was sitting there he's not top. He wasn't a top 10 receiver, but he was clutch. He would make the.
He was a good player. I respect him. He played a hell of a lot longer than I did. You know what I mean? And I enjoyed watching him play. I did. You know, but no, I mean Deshaun Jackson this guy was a Pro Bowler at 2 different positions. T.O.'s a Hall of Famer. LaShawn McCoy, if he's not,
I tell you, like that Donovan did so much
with so little,
nothing. With almost nothing.
That's what I'm saying. For those who were able to see him play back in the day, you realize why I say, even though he doesn't have, you know, crazy stats, that dude's impact during the time that he played was tremendous. He was considered to be a big name, big gun quarterback.
I still eat Campbell soup because of Donnie.
Right? Yeah.
Oh man! Now this is the time of year where we hear all the experts how the team did this off season. Now somehow unanimously, the Philadelphia Eagles have been ranked the number 1 off season with their signings, re-signings, and you know the Greenard trade, and you know who we picked up at the draft and all that. Now I'm not a fan of this stuff. I'm not, because I think it's always with some type of bias or whatever. So let me ask you, Marvin, who are your top 3 teams that made the most of this offseason?
Can I give you 3? So I would have to say the probably the Eagles first.
So you do agree that Harry Roseman did basically the best job that did the job that your general manager is supposed to do in the offseason?
The fact that you guys were able to get Mekhi Lemon when you got him is just mind-blowing. And you consider the strategic move that he made to make that happen, because it wasn't like he just fell into your lap. He was going somewhere else. How he disrupted that and went out there with a power move. So I have to go Eagles first. Then I'd probably have to go with the Raiders, just because at the end of the day, you have to have a quarterback to get this thing going. And I think, you know, this is a situation where an organization who needs a quarterback got a very good quarterback. And I think I think they're going to build from this moving forward. A lot to be said about the new head coach, though, and what he's going to be able to do, because this is his first time doing this in Kubiak. And then I have to go with my Jets, just because, you know, we had situations of need and we needed, you know, plug and play players. And leading off with David Bailey, I think, you know, we were able to do that. So, you know, the reason you have all this stuff, Steve, is football withdrawal. This is just more of a testament to people miss football, and they're trying to create narratives and storylines, and they're finally trying something to talk about with football because they miss it so much. You know what I'm saying? So you're right. It is kind of a crazy, the offseason, you don't win titles in the offseason. You don't get points. No one, you know, they don't show up on a win-loss record. You know what I mean? So this is more evidence that we miss football, man. But yeah, Eagles, Raiders, Jets.
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, the only thing I probably would say is just maybe just because I'm too close, I can't put us on there yet, because you still have AJ Brown in the building. I guess, you know, maybe I'll feel differently after June 2nd rolls around and either is or isn't an Eagle anymore, and we figure out where we're going with that. But yeah, Eddie, you're not going to get me to sit there and say Dallas had the best offseason. You all have the best offseason every year, and you do absolutely nothing with it. I don't want to hear about it.
Dallas
just lost the second best defensive tackle in football. I know you guys got younger. I know you guys made moves. You got a Hall of Fame worthy level coach in there. You still got Joe Shane in the building. You still have the worst GM in football. So I'm not going to put the Giants in the conversation of winning the offseason, because they just have to win in period. And the reason why I think a lot of people giving Howie the credit he has is because he's done it multiple years, where every time, you think that he made all the wrong moves, it turns out he makes all the right moves. I'm not sitting there saying this draft class is going to be a home run. We don't know that yet. But I don't like this, 2 weeks afterwards, we're sitting there grading who's won the offseason. And I think part of it, Marvin's right, that it's just that we're missing it. We got, we're only sitting here, April?
Man, this is
so we got to go almost 3.5, 4 months before we get real football again.
I know we got about 120 days till Trojan football. I don't know about the NFL. I'm just saying, you asked. So,
man, stop it! Y'all gave us the best the best pickup of the draft.
Listen, Caleb Downs is a hell of a pick for the Cowboys. I ain't gonna lie.
I think he's the perfect fit, if you ask me. But I don't think he's the best pick of that first round. I don't.
That's a tough call, but he is a highly talented player, and for a team who needs help at that position, they got one of the best in the last couple of years.
They don't have anyone in their secondary. I don't think anyone's scared of right now.
They do now.
That's a problem. Yeah, now they just don't want to throw half of the field. Now, if you go look at what my crazy ass Eagles did. You got a 1, you got a 2, you got a 3. The only question is the other safety spot where you technically could still make a move between now and training camp and go get one, because Howie's loaded up with picks like he always is. So, yeah. I mean, I think the only weakness right now is the only question is the other safety spot for the Eagles right now. You went and got another edge rusher, right? The rumor is that Jalen Carter's in the best shape of his athletic life. It looks like he gained anywhere from 10 to 15 pounds of muscle. If that's true, that's going to be a scary look, as Jordan Davis was the guy everyone was saying that of last year. He just got his contract. So I think they look good. If the Eagles are actually able to have a healthy offensive line this year, I do think that they are legitimate potential deep playoff run Super Bowl contender type of team.
Yeah, I mean,
regardless if AJ Brown's on the roster or not, I think even if you take him off the roster right now, the wide receiver moves that you made makes up for losing a guy like AJ.
Yeah, I mean, the acquisition of Mekhi Lemon was genius, considering what you're dealing with AJ Brown. So again, not only, and this is a plug and play player. You know, Mekhi Lemon, even with the guys, the free agents you brought in, the Hollywood Browns, and I know you still got what do you call him, the Slim Reaper out there. Smith.
And then we made the trade with Green Bay and brought in what was it, Devontae Weeks or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Mekhi Lemon will be an impact player in what is a very competitive receiver room. So no, you guys are a top 4 team right now, in my opinion. The Eagles are a top 4 team in the NFL. I mean, you guys are explosive. You got defense. I think you have offense. For as much as people go back and forth on the quarterback, this is a guy whose resume speaks volumes. So,
I mean, Eddie, everyone's we already know what that is. It's Sean Mannion. He's basically from that Shanahan McVay tree. So there is no question about the OC this season, and it's because they hired outside of their little tree there. I thought that was the thing that you had a problem with Kevin Patullo, because he was inside that Nick Sirianni tree. So it's going to be interesting. Like again, I'm not going to sit there and say this is a Super Bowl destined team. I think they're just going to be a team that has a chip on their shoulder just because of what happened last season. Regardless if you feel it was the coaching staff, it was AJ Brown. People want to blame Jalen Hurts, talking about he doesn't throw over the middle. His percentage is the lowest, right? His percentage is the lowest of about targeting the middle of the field. Do you want to know what his percentage is when he targets the middle of the field? He's got a 123.8 quarterback rating when he targets the middle of the field. So he could target it the least amount of times in the NFL if he's hitting it for a 123.8 rating, quarterback rating when he is throwing to it. So, right. You guys can do whatever you want. I think you're just giving this team the bulletin board material type stuff that's going to motivate them anyways. So,
absolutely.
I don't think it's a runaway. I still think, that NFC West is going to be a problem. Same with the North, because I think both of those conferences could potentially have 3 playoff teams come out of it.
Yes, I agree. It's realistic, man. But the one that I'm betting on heavily is the Eagles, to be honest with you. And I don't bet, but you know what I mean.
I wholeheartedly disagree with you, Eddie. There will not be two teams from the NFC East making the playoffs. It's just going to be the Eagles. Dallas is going to Dallas. New York will have anywhere from 6 to 8 wins. The only one I might give you that argument is if Jalen Daniels is healthy and he's not running around taking unnecessary hits, I could see them potential. That's the caveat I'll give you there. The only team I would potentially put in there is that Washington has a bounce back season and they want up winning 10, 11 games, something that effect. Disagree with me all you want, buddy. Disagree with me all you want. The Cowboys are going to cowboy like they do as soon as they hit that back end of November. It's just off a cliff. But we'll see what the season holds, Eddie. We'll see what the season holds. I still think that your wild card teams is either coming from the north, the north or the west. The 49ers, I don't think are going anywhere anytime soon. Seattle isn't a flash in the pan type of team, and you still have the Rams out there. And I don't think Matthew Stafford's going anywhere. Yeah, the Giants ain't making the playoffs, dude. Get out of here! Come on. I get it. It makes more sense with them having the easier schedule. I do, but I don't think the Giants are there. I think they will a team that will probably be anywhere from 6 to 8 wins. I think they will be better than they were last year, but you have a question mark at quarterback. He can't stay healthy, and his style of play isn't constructive of a long-term career. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, yeah, the Niners did lose. Did lose the former Jets coach there. Now he's they're in Tennessee, right?
Yeah,
Robert Saleh is down in Tennessee, right?
Yeah, he is. Yes.
So I mean, I don't think the coach is going to be the Niners' problem at all. They were a playoff team last year. Despite the fact that all the dysfunction they have at the wide receiver position. So, top 5 running back in the NFL. You have arguably the best the best left tackle in football over the last 10 years under contract for another few years. You still got Bosa. They still got Fred Warner over there. Greenlaw's coming back. So I like the Niners team as a whole. I think that we'll see what the year holds for them. But yeah, I definitely see the West over the East having the multiple playoff teams from, but we'll see. Did you hear that the news is Patrick Mahomes is looking like he'll be ready for OTAs?
Yeah, I did see that. The torn ACL. It used to be a situation where players say
it was 6 months every time.
Yeah, there used to be a situation where they say, back in the day was they blew their knee out. Now it's a quick turnaround. I would just say this, based on their $500 million investment in him, and when you look at the reality of how he impacts his team, this is something that they need to slow cook. There needs to be no rush or anything like that on getting him back on the field. Whether he comes back game 1, game 4, game 8, game 10, it doesn't matter. He doesn't come back. If I'm Andy Reid, and I'm sure they're thinking the same way, he doesn't come back until he is 100% ready to go. Because if you don't have Pat Mahomes, then you become the New York Jets. I mean that. So,
I'm glad he's on track earlier, but I'm with you. If I'm Andy Reid, the Chiefs training staff, Chiefs fan, matter of fact, I don't want to see him until after week 4. I don't. Because you're sitting there saying that the Jets, no, they're worse than the Jets. But technically they would be the Jets considering isn't that where your boy is now?
Yeah, Justin Fields will be the starting quarterback for the Chiefs. And you know what's going to happen? he's going to pull a Sam Darnold. He's going to go out there and ball. And, he's not taking over for Pat Mahomes. I'm not saying that.
No.
But he's going to play well enough.
He's auditioning for whoever gets traded for mid-season.
Exactly. And what's going to happen then? He's going to be the Justin Fields that all the people who supported Justin Fields believed he could be. And that'll be another New York Jet quarterback. Talk about Geno Smith the first time, Sam Darnold. Now it's going to be this dude. I mean, anyway, the worst place you can go. I'm happy that the Jets passed on Mekhi Lemon. I thought they'd mess his career up, to be honest with you. That's kind of that's where I'm at.
You're so against your team picking SC guys that you just
I don't want them to mess up their people's careers, man. I think people talk about players being busts. I think the bigger story that people don't talk about are poorly run organizations who don't really know how to develop players, don't have a plan for specific players, haven't done their research on these players. And just because of horrible leadership, these players go to these organizations, it doesn't pan out. Oh, he's a bust. But leadership matters is the bottom line.
It's more than leadership. It's culture. Ben was talking about this last week when we're talking about, you could be the greatest talent, best player at your position in the draft. Got all the right measurables, whatever. But the culture inside of that organization, whether it be your fellow teammates or the management above, if it's dysfunctional, it doesn't matter if you're the greatest college athlete that came out of your position that year. It doesn't matter because you're going to be playing with a bunch of guys that aren't disciplined or just not being taught up correctly, and you could very well just not perform well, get injured, etc. But then you're the one labeled with the bust moniker or whatever, and we've seen it so many times over the years. Sometimes you just put a guy in the right system, the right situation in the right city or team, all of a sudden they look like a completely different athlete.
Yeah, work environment matters. That stuff matters, man. Leadership matters. These are things that impact people and inspire people. Or if they're lacking, these are the things that make people have issues and just not and feel uninspired. So yeah, leadership matters, man. You're absolutely right, Steve.
It's an important. We were talking about it earlier when we were talking about Kevin Durant, and it's not just the athlete that needs to be the leadership. If you don't have the right coach in place, the right general manager in place, the right owner there that wants to see the team succeed, that just doesn't. They're more than just there to watch you line their pockets with more money. They generally want and care and want to see their team be successful and be contending for championships. It's not just a dollar and cents type of guy. You need the trifecta there. You need coaching, you need management, and you need ownership to all to be on the same page. And 9 times out of 10. So that's too much to ask for some of these cities, for some of these teams. It really is, and it's unfortunate for some young athlete, some potential superstar level guy that just is probably going to waste his career away because he's going to be not coached properly, not taught properly, not taught to how to be a leader to help their team be better, help their fellow player. I mean, when we were talking about the potential of AJ Brown leaving, look how Devontae Smith just handled the media about it. Talking about Mekhi Lemon, basically you say, anything that he needs, if something I can give him, I'm going to give it to him.
Yeah, that's what you want. That's a healthy culture. That's a leadership. That's a veteran player who understands and remembers what it is to be an incoming rookie. And that's what you want in your room, that type of presence, that type of energy. And that's why, that's part of why I would say the Eagles, remain one of the top teams. It's just their culture and their ability to identify men who are leaders and understand what leadership looks like.
And on that note, they just re-signed the big man himself, Big Dom, to a contract extension, and he's the guy. He's the guy that Harry Roseman pulls on to when it comes to these character things that when they're doing their research on who they want to be potential players. It's Howie Roseman that makes the draft, but it's Big Dom that not only does like the sideline stuff and the little stuff that you hear about in the media, but he's the one that pulls all the information to find the character flaws, to find the guys that are going to be good leaders and bad leaders, etc. It's usually Big Dom the ones that pull that trigger, and it's cool to kind of see him get another contract extension. Man, he's been here for just as long as Howie Roseman has, so it is definitely a culture thing, and hopefully some of these other franchises figures it out that it's not just about having the top talent there. You have to have the people there that can manage them and mold them and push them in the right direction. So it's culture, it's management, it's proper. It's just having that proper environment that your athletes are going to succeed in.
Yeah, continuity matters. So I get that. You're absolutely right.
But as we get ready to wrap this one up, I know you got somewhere to be too. You know how we typically do this one as we're riding off. That was the last one of our questions there. Anything you got going on you want to share with the people this week, and let everyone know where to find you on the platforms this week, my friend?
Yeah, social media. I'm Marvin Powell III. Marvin on the mic. I'm a writer for Roundtable Sports. I have published articles out there that you can find. Marvin Powell III, Yahoo, Google, whatever it may be. I'm on all the social media platforms, and you can catch me here with my man Steve and Ben Troupe on the Fan in the End once a week. You can catch me with USCJ as well, multiple times a week, and just much more to come with me and media, and just very happy to be here with Steve and Ben.
Appreciate your time as always. Hopefully, Ben gets his tire fixed and no more.
I've been there, bro. It ain't no fun. Even when you got AAA, it ain't no fun.
No, man, it ain't. You know what? For the longest time, I used to have a full-size spare in my trunk just because I didn't want to ever have those situations of getting a flat and then having to wait on a tow truck or anything like that. It was just be able to have the full-size spare right there, and no, my donut's rusted to the cover hole. I can't get it out. That's normally what happens. So I was always having full-size spare in the back of my car just because I didn't want. If you lose two, then that's definitely bad luck. But one, you can at least make it back to the shop and get the tire replaced. Or even if you didn't have the money, you had that availability, having the full-size spare. If finances were tough, you'd be able to be like, let me take care of this next week. Just got to be careful where you're driving. But Ben, we love you, brother. We'll see you next week. Other than that, this is another episode of the Fan in the End. I'm Steve. That was Marvin. We'll catch you guys next Wednesday at the normal time, the next Wednesday morning. Peace out, my friends. Have a good night.